Hi, it's Kim here with another update on negotiations for additional stimulus money, including unemployment and PPP loans. Lots of good things have happened in the last 2 days, and this is where we stand as of today, Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. This is another quick lunch hour video, so it will be unedited. I'm a licensed practicing attorney in Kentucky, and I've practiced unemployment law for over 13 years. I'm not licensed in any other state, and I'm not accepting any clients, but I am here to help you help yourself. Just a reminder that there is no attorney-client relationship between us, and you should see the full legal disclaimer below this video and understand that if you need the assistance of an attorney, that you should consult with a licensed attorney in your state about your particular facts and circumstances. First, Congress gave themselves an extension until December 18th, 2020 to get some stimulus legislation passed, and they delayed their vacations for a week. So from my perspective, the leaders are showing more dedication this time to reaching an agreement. We've seen Nancy Pelosi come down $1 trillion and Mitch McConnell come up about $500 billion. And as of today, the two plans being discussed are only $8 billion apart, with the bipartisan bill at $908 billion and the $916 billion bill supported by Mnuchin, Mitch McConnell, McCarthy, and Trump. So I just can't imagine that there won't be an agreement reached by December 18th, 2020. I'm going to go through the issues relevant to unemployment insurance, PPP, stimulus under both bills and explain what issues are still being debated. So both bills extend PUA and PEUC, but I want to remind you that there is a big difference between extending the program deadlines and extending the weeks of benefits for each particular claimant. So as of now, on PUA, a claimant can get up to 39 weeks of unemployment, but those weeks may expire prior to the program's scheduled end date of December 26, 2020. In addition, if you've not exhausted your 39 weeks by the end date of the program, you will not be paid for any weeks after the program ends. So the same is true with PEUC. It's Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation. Some people call it EUC for short, but it's PEUC. Each claimant gets 13 weeks, and those weeks may be exhausted prior to the end date of the program, December 26th, or they may be forfeited after the end date of the program if you did not begin your PEUC at least 13 weeks prior to the end date. So just be aware that if Congress extends the end dates of the program, the legislation must include language stating that claimants are granted additional weeks of eligibility for their particular claims for it to apply to most claimants. So remember also that the date that you claim your benefits and the date that the programs end are two separate dates. You're not expected to claim your benefits by the end date of the program, and you should stick to the claiming schedule assigned to you by your state. Another reminder, the new legislation would not reactivate extended benefits because those are triggered on or off by your particular state's average unemployment rate. Extended benefits triggered off in Colorado, Kentucky, and Virginia on November 26th, and they are scheduled to trigger off on December 12th in Ohio, South Carolina, and Kansas. There are probably additional states triggering off, so I'll try to update those when I can in the comments. They do not trigger back on until after a few months of a high unemployment rate. So, however, whichever legislation is passed, an agreement must be reached in the House of Representatives no later than December 17th, 2020, and no later than December 18th, 2020 in the Senate. Now, I'm only going to talk about the parts of the proposed legislation that are relevant to unemployment insurance, PPP, stimulus checks, and person-focused relief. There's a lot more to these proposed bills proposed bills than these three things, but I'm sticking to the things that are important to the people that I talk to every day, trying to help them with their unemployment, and the people who generally watch this channel. So last week, Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, relinquished her position and agreed to the terms offered by the $908 billion bipartisan bicameral package. but she continued to push for stimulus checks to be included. The bipartisan package still does not have any funds for stimulus checks to citizens, similar to the $1,200 payments that were made to individuals in the summer of 2020. And keep in mind, this is different than unemployment, as you do not have to be unemployed to receive this money. The bipartisan package does include $300 per week in unemployment boost, just like we had with the FPUC and the LWA, the $600 and $400 payments, and they were given to those who had received a certain minimum amount of their underlying weekly benefit. So when there was the $600 boost, you had to have at least $1 underlying benefit, and for the LWA $400 boost, you had to have at least a $100 underlying benefit. So it will totally depend upon the language of the legislation on how much of any underlying benefit you must be receiving to get the $300 per week boost. That's why it's called a boost. It's not a payment to everyone. It is a boost on top of your regular unemployment payment. So this $300 boost is for 16 weeks, I've heard now, and they seem to be saying that this would begin in December 2020 instead of being retroactive. So the bipartisan package also includes $180 billion in unemployment to continue the PUA and PEUC pandemic relief programs for another 16 weeks. Now, hopefully this means adding weeks of eligibility for each claimant and not just extending the end date of the programs, but we'll have to wait and see the language of the bill once it is drafted. The bipartisan package also includes $300 billion of PPP funds for businesses to keep people employed, and it includes $25 billion for rental and utility assistance. If you're past due on your rent or your utilities, you could get funding through this, and we're actually currently behind about $23 billion in delinquent rental payments in the U.S. and need the money to prevent an eviction crisis. And President-elect Biden has said that he would intend for this to be a grant rather than a loan. So regardless of how the legislation is written on this, I would expect to see that it is a forgivable loan or a grant at some point. Now, in response to this bill, you have the Republican response to this bill. So it was drafted by Secretary Mnuchin, who proposed a $918 billion proposed legislation. It's supported by Mitch McConnell, McCarthy, and Trump. Now, they took out the $300 per week unemployment boost, but added stimulus checks of $600 to the same adults that received the previous $1,200 stimulus checks and dependent children. It does not apply to dependent adults like college students or perhaps elderly people you're taking care of, but they did still extend the PUA and PEUC for 16 weeks. So you still have the 16-week unemployment extension on the pandemic benefits, but they took out the $300 per week boost and put in the $600 stimulus checks, which, the Democrats said they wanted stimulus checks. So why can't they agree? The number one thing going on right now is Nancy Pelosi said that she will not agree to take out the $300 per week unemployment boost. She said that was unacceptable. I'm sorry, this is not edited, so I'm going to have to, I knew this would start happening. One moment, I'm so sorry. Okay, there we go. I constantly get calls. I'm sorry. Okay, so Nancy Pelosi said that she would not take out that $300 per week UI boost and that was unacceptable. So, but to put that back in would only cost about $140 billion, which really should not be enough to prevent an agreement. I don't think that is going to be a sticking point that's going to keep them from passing legislation for unemployment, stimulus checks, and everything else that is included. I'm sorry, that phone call kind of got me off track. Now, the other hot issues were liability protections for businesses and workers and funding for state and local governments. But since the Republican proposal has both, I can't imagine that the parties are not going to be moving forward on this, since the Democrats really want state and local government funding and worker protections, and the Republicans really want business liability protections. So it seems like they would give in on some, and so both can get some of what they want. So I'm very optimistic that the agreement will be reached to get us through the next few months. And keep in mind that all key persons have indicated that the package that may be passed by the legislature next week is simply a bridge or a down payment to future stimulus talks once Biden takes office. The leaders continually refer to the current proposed legislation as a bridge or an interim relief package. Biden takes office on January 20th, 2021, and depending upon the results of the Georgia runoff election on January 5th, 2021, control of the Senate could go to the Democrats, making it highly likely that they could pass provisions that they had initially presented under the HEROES Act. So in all likelihood, as early as February 2021, there will be more generous legislation for unemployment, stimulus payments, and PPP funding, along other types of stimulus relief. So if you appreciated this update, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel. That helps me. If you would share it with people who you think need this information, that would appreciate that also. And if you hit the notifications button, you will be alerted when I post another video. So I hope everyone has a good day and a good evening, a good week, and hopefully I'll be back on here in not too long talking about what agreement is underway or what agreement has been reached. But I appreciate you watching this video, and thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.